My husband's parents toasted to family first, and that means your savings, too. My husband laughed along. I leaned in, whispered 3 words into his ear, and the look he gave them after was priceless. I'm a 38-year-old woman living in Columbus, Ohio. My husband, Chris, is 40. We've been married for 12 years. We don't have kids, by choice. I work in healthcare administration, and he's in IT. We both make decent money, and we've always kept our finances separate, with a joint account for shared expenses. Chris's parents, Ron and Marlene, are the kind of people who believe that family comes before everything. That sounds nice in theory, but in practice, it means they expect their children to support them financially, no questions asked. They've always been a bit entitled, but I tried to keep the peace for Chris's sake. A few months ago, we invited Ron and Marlene over for dinner. It was a casual gathering, just the 4 of us. After we finished eating, Ron raised his glass and said, "To family first, and that means your savings, too." Everyone laughed, including Chris. I didn't. I leaned in and whispered 3 words into Chris's ear. "That's not okay." Chris stopped laughing. He looked at me, then at his parents. The mood shifted, but we moved on. Later that night, I asked Chris about the toast. He brushed it off, saying his dad was just joking. I wasn't convinced. I started paying closer attention to our finances. I noticed that our joint account was being used more than usual. When I asked Chris about it, he said he was helping his parents with some bills. I reminded him that we agreed to discuss any large expenses together. He apologized and promised to be more transparent. A few weeks later, I found out that Chris had co-signed a loan for his younger brother, Matt, without telling me. I was furious. Chris said he didn't want to burden me with the details. I told him that keeping secrets about our finances was a bigger burden. I decided to take control of the situation. I opened a separate bank account in my name and started moving my money there. I also consulted a lawyer to understand my options. Chris's parents continued to ask for money. They called Chris regularly, guilt-tripping him into helping them. They even suggested that we sell our house and move in with them to save money. I was appalled. I confronted Chris. I told him that his parents were manipulating him and that I wouldn't stand for it. He defended them, saying they were just trying to help. I told him that helping doesn't involve draining our savings and jeopardizing our future. I gave Chris an ultimatum: set boundaries with his parents or risk losing our marriage. He was shocked. He said he didn't realize how serious the situation had become. Chris agreed to talk to his parents. He told them that we needed to focus on our own financial stability and that we couldn't continue to support them. Ron and Marlene were furious. They accused me of turning Chris against them. I stood my ground. I told them that I respected their values, but I had to protect my own interests. They didn't take it well. Chris and I started couples therapy. It wasn't easy, but we made progress. Chris began to see how his parents' expectations were affecting our marriage. He started setting boundaries and prioritizing our relationship. We're still working through things, but I feel more hopeful. I've learned that setting boundaries is essential, even with family. I've also learned that open communication is key to a healthy relationship. I'm sharing my story in the hope that it helps others who might be facing similar challenges. Remember, it's okay to say no. It's okay to protect your financial future. And it's okay to put yourself first. After Chris told his parents we wouldn't be giving them more money, things got worse, not better. Marlene started calling me directly. She'd never done that before. At first, it was passive-aggressive stuff, comments about how some people don't understand family loyalty or you'll understand when you're older. I didn't respond. Then it got more direct. She told me I was driving a wedge in the family, that I was cold, selfish, and didn't deserve a man like Chris. I recorded the calls. I didn't say a word to her, just listened and kept the evidence. Chris tried to mediate, but he was struggling. I could tell he felt guilty. That guilt was something his parents had been feeding off his entire life. They knew exactly how to trigger it. One night, I got home from work and saw Chris sitting at the dining table with a stack of papers. He looked ashamed. I made a mistake, he said. He had taken out a personal loan in his name, $20,000, and wired most of it to his parents. Without telling me, I stared at him. My hands were shaking. I walked out. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I grabbed my coat and left. I drove to a park and sat there for 3 hours. When I came back, I told him I wanted everything separated. I wanted my name off the mortgage. I wanted a legal agreement that none of my money would ever be used to pay for that loan. I wanted him to sign it with a lawyer present. He agreed. A week later, I found out from my lawyer that Marlene had listed our home address on a small business application she filed. She was trying to start a family care business using our address and pretending it was a joint investment between her, Ron, and Chris. She was using our house as proof of assets. I didn't say a word to Chris at first. I drove straight to the business office listed in the registration paperwork. It was a tiny rundown space attached to the back of a gas station. No sign. Just a dusty glass door with a buzzer. A man in his 20s was inside. Said he was helping the family out with some paperwork. I asked for his name. He gave me a fake one. I later found out his real name was Matt, Chris's brother. I took photos. I documented everything. Then I went home and put it all in front of Chris. He looked like he was going to be sick. I said, "You have 2 choices. Either you handle this or I will. But if I handle it, I promise you they won't just lose access to us. They'll be facing legal trouble." He begged me to give him time. 2 days. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, Ron and Marlene haven't called me. But they've been calling Chris nonstop, leaving messages, texting at all hours. One of the texts said, "You're letting her destroy us." Another said, "You were our retirement plan." Retirement plan. That's when everything clicked. They never cared about Chris's future. They never cared about our marriage. They just saw him as a wallet. And me? A barrier. So I started digging. And what I found next nearly floored me. Marlene had opened a credit card using my name. Someone had stolen my information, likely from documents in our home, and applied for a card in my name, listed her as an authorized user, and racked up $6,400 in charges at places like a salon, a furniture outlet, and 2 online casinos. I filed a police report that day. Then I called the credit card company. They confirmed everything. I gave them the name, address, and even photos of Marlene signing receipts from security footage at one of the stores. They froze the account and launched an investigation. I haven't told Chris about this part yet. I'm waiting for the police to finish their side. But I know once I do, something will break. I'm not writing this for sympathy. I'm writing this because I can feel something big coming. Either Chris wakes up and walks away from the people who raised him, or I walk away from all of it. And if it comes to that, I won't whisper it this time. I'll say it loud enough for the whole damn family to hear. Chris started locking his phone. That might not sound like much, but this man had always been the "my phone is your phone" type. Now suddenly, there was a passcode I didn't know, and a tension in the room every time it buzzed. One night, around 2 a.m., he got up and went into the living room. I waited. 10 minutes. 15. I got up and followed quietly. He was on a video call. With Marlene. She doesn't need to know, I heard him say. I just need time. She's watching everything I do now. He was pacing. He didn't hear me step into the hallway. You think you'll still get anything in the divorce if she catches you? Marlene snapped back. That stopped me cold. Divorce? They were planning for it. Plotting around it. I recorded that call from behind the hallway corner. 38 minutes of whispering, scheming, and something about a stash that Chris kept in a separate crypto wallet. That's when it clicked again. He had a hidden account. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, facing the ceiling, while Chris crawled back in next to me, pretending nothing had happened. In the morning, I called a friend of mine who works in cybersecurity and asked for help. Within a week, I had access to everything. Chris had a private crypto wallet with over $90,000 in it. He'd been slowly moving money into it for nearly 3 years, transfers that looked small in the bank statements, spaced out just enough to avoid notice. They were tied to payments he said were investments or loan repayments to his brother. It was all going to the wallet. The name on the digital wallet? His mother's maiden name. I printed every detail. I made 3 copies and kept them in different places. I didn't confront him right away. I needed to see how deep it went. Turns out, they had a plan. Marlene wanted Chris to leave me. She said I was too smart and too careful. She didn't want him married to someone who checked the statements or asked questions. She wanted him to file for divorce quietly, claim financial hardship, and take as much of our joint assets as possible. Then he'd start fresh with them. I couldn't believe it. I was sleeping next to a stranger. Then one more thing happened, and it pushed everything over the edge. I got a call from HR at my job. Someone had submitted an anonymous tip claiming I was involved in healthcare fraud. False billing. Kickbacks. It was fake. Every bit of it. But HR had to take it seriously. I spent a full week in meetings, clearing my name, pulling files, getting affidavits from doctors I worked with, proving it was a lie. When it was all over, I went home and sat in the driveway for 45 minutes, staring at the front door. I walked in. Chris was on the couch, scrolling his phone. I said, "Someone tried to ruin my career this week." He looked up, all fake concern. "What? What happened?" I didn't respond. I went to the bedroom, pulled out a folder, and handed it to him. In it were the call transcripts, wallet info, bank records, screenshots, and even the part where Marlene said, "Make sure you have her passwords. We might need to get into her accounts during the settlement." Chris turned white, then red, then quiet. He tried to speak, but I didn't let him. I told him I had copies in multiple places. I told him I had already spoken to a divorce lawyer. I told him if he or his family contacted me again outside legal channels, I'd press charges. I said one more thing. You had a choice. You picked your mother. Then I walked out. I haven't been back since. There's still more happening. There's still fallout. There's still legal stuff in motion. But I haven't told the final part yet. Because this isn't over. They think I'm quiet. They think I'm passive. 2 days after I walked out, Chris showed up at my job. He waited outside the building, holding flowers like this was a rom-com. I almost laughed. He hadn't called, hadn't messaged, just decided to ambush me at work like nothing happened. He started apologizing before I even got close. I was scared. They pressured me. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You meant it every time you lied." He tried to hand me the flowers. I didn't take them. I said, "Did your mom send you here, or was this your idea?" He flinched. I walked right past him. That night, I sent the final letter through my lawyer. I was filing for divorce. I was also filing criminal charges for identity theft and financial fraud. The evidence was more than enough. My lawyer was good. The kind of good that makes grown men sweat. 2 weeks later, Marlene was served too. When she found out I wasn't bluffing, she made the mistake of calling me. She screamed at me over the phone. Called me a snake. Said I destroyed her family. I let her finish. Then I calmly said, "You should have picked a different victim." I hung up. Blocked her number. Again. The court battle wasn't short. It lasted months. They tried everything. Claimed the credit card theft was a misunderstanding. Said Chris never meant to hide the crypto. That the call recordings were taken out of context. None of it worked. The judge wasn't impressed with either of them. Marlene was fined. Chris had to pay restitution. And the best part? The court froze the crypto wallet and ordered that half the value be transferred to me. Every shady dollar he tried to hide ended up helping me rebuild. But the real twist? I wasn't clean in all this either. At some point, maybe after the first lie, or the 10th, or when I found the fake business application, I stopped trying to save the marriage and started planning revenge. I didn't just gather evidence. I baited them. I used our Amazon account to send her a copy of a finance book and watched her react in the group chat Chris stupidly left open once. I left my old laptop logged into a fake spreadsheet showing an inheritance coming to me. She bit hard, tried to find out how to access it. Every time they schemed, I was already 2 steps ahead. The only thing I regret is waiting so long to see it clearly. Chris wasn't a victim. He was a grown man with a phone, a job, and a spine he chose not to use. He let them run our lives, drain our future, and nearly destroy my peace. And I let it happen for too long because I wanted to believe love was enough. It's not. Love doesn't fix what's rotting underneath. Last I heard, Chris was living in his brother's basement. Marlene's business never got off the ground. The state shut it down after I turned in the fake paperwork and reported the Medicaid fraud she tried to pull using my name. As for me, I bought a small condo. It's quiet. It's mine. And not a single cent of it was ever touched by their hands. Sometimes I still get messages from mutual friends who say I was cold, that I went too far, that I didn't have to burn it all down. Maybe, but sometimes fire is the only way to make sure the rot doesn't come back. So yes, I ended it with flames. And I've never felt more free.